Hi, I'm Amber.
Hi, I'm AJ, and welcome to Mountain Traditions Homestead.
Welcome back to the kitchen. We are going to be canning some salsa this evening. I've got some peppers that I've got washed, and I'm getting ready to chop those up to go with the salsa. I've got some water on the stove, getting hot to blanch my tomatoes, to dice those up. So I'm going to get to it. Disclaimer, if you hear any noise in the background. One thing, I've got some clothes washing, and the boys are in the living room playing video games, so you might hear some screaming. That's what that is. No need to be alarmed. Got about 3 cups of peppers chopped. I've got a couple more to chop, but my water has come up to heat for blanching my tomatoes, and I'm going to core them first. We found this handy little gadget at Rural King last night. We were talking about getting one, couldn't find it. It's a tomato corer, so this should make my job a little bit easier. We'll see how it does. Should be better than a knife, and it so is. That's awesome. That's much easier than a knife, actually. And now we are gonna blanch these. I'm gonna get them all cored first, and then we'll show you how to blanch them. Alright, so I have all of my tomatoes cored, and we are going to blanch them. I'll show you how to do that. I'll record all of it. I'll just do a couple and show you. Now, we canned tomatoes a few nights ago, and those we had frozen and let them thaw out. The skins came right off, but we didn't let them get to room temperature, and it was really hard to do it while they were ice cold. It was very painful in your hands, actually. So we're going to try this and see how this works. I just got a slotted spoon here to set it down into the pot. So I've brought my water up, it's boiling, and we're going to drop a few tomatoes in here, and we are not going to leave them but about 30 seconds or so, and then we're going to take them out. That'll stop the cooking, and it will have weakened your peel where you can just peel the tomato right off. And I've also got cold water here in this big bowl. A lot of people put ice water in it, but I filtered our tap water with hot well water, and it's very cold, so it should do the trick. We don't usually keep ice on hand. So that should be about enough for the tomatoes. I'm gonna pull them out here and plunge them into the cold water. Pretty heavy, and this spoon is plastic. It's not working for me. There you go. Okay. Now we've got our tomatoes floating in our ice bath here. Or not our ice bath, just cold water. And see how good they feel. Skin peels right off of there. Okay, so we are back. We've got everything diced up and put in the pot. I will let AJ come over here and show you guys what we're working with. And while he's doing that, I'll tell you how much of everything that we used. This is for the zesty salsa recipe. We used 5 cups of chopped green peppers, 5 cups of diced onions, 10 cups of diced tomatoes, 2.5 cups of jalapenos, 1 1/4 cup apple cider vinegar, 3 cloves of garlic. We just use the minced garlic that you can get at the grocery store, 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro, and a tablespoon of salt. And this recipe we actually copied from Living Traditions Homestead. It's from the Ball Book of Preserving. We don't have that book yet, but we are looking for it. It's kind of hard to find right now. But we got the recipe from them, and that's what we decided to try. We didn't want anything too spicy. They also have a jalapeno salsa, but we didn't want to try anything quite that spicy because our son will probably eat some of it too. So, but I'm going to let this come to a boil, and then when it comes to a boil, we are going to let it cook for about 10 minutes on a simmer. Turn it back down to a simmer, let it cook for 10 minutes, and then we'll be back with you guys to show you how to jar it up and process it in the water bath canner. Alright, our salsa has finished cooking, what little bit you're cooking on the stove. Like I said, you bring it to a boil, all your ingredients, and then turn it down to a simmer, let it go for 10 minutes. I've got my jars. I did sterilize these jars, put them in the oven on 350 for 30 minutes. And I've got my lids here. We've washed these. We do not keep them in hot water anymore. They have decided, the powers that be, that it's no longer necessary to keep your lids in hot water, and for me that was kind of aggravating, so I was glad. We've not had any issues, so for us it's worked. Some people still prefer to keep them in hot water. That's up to you, but we don't. So washed jars, sterilized jars. I've got my cannon funnel here, and we're about to ladle everything in. We've got 12 pints here, and we'll see if we get that much out of it. I hope we do. But we aimed a little high, just so we would have enough sterile. I had some tomatoes left over, so we also went ahead and canned 2 quarts of tomatoes this evening. We want to leave about a ½ inch headspace in there. I eyeball it. A lot of people will take the little tool that comes in your canning kit and measure it, but I can tell how much a ½ inch headspace is. So. Okay, so we have got 8 pints here that is full, and I've got a little bit left in my pot, but it's not enough to fill a pint, so I'm just going to take a pint jar that has not been sterilized, it's just clean, and I'm going to pop a lid on it and put it in the fridge for us to eat after it's set for a little while. I did get a little too much in some of these, just like 2 of them, so I'm going to spoon a little bit of that out.
You can't get it off.
There we go. That looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead and get some lids on these and get them processing, and then I'll get the rest out of my pot. I'm just wiping the rims clean. You always want to make sure that you do this. It can cause, if you don't, you've got a little splash of something on there, which even if you're super careful is very easy to do, it can cause your jars to come unsealed and your food is spoiled, obviously. And if you don't realize that it's spoiled, it could be dangerous. But alright, so I've got them wiped clean. I'm just going to pop a lid on here, pop the ring on, do them finger tight. Okay, we've got all the lids and all the rings on our jars. We've got our hot bowl in here, our canner. So we're going to go ahead and pop these in there, and these are going to process for 20 minutes. If you're at a higher altitude than 6,000 feet, you will have to add a little time to that, but we are not. Oh, hear Charlie in the background. Jacob's in there playing with him. I know he sounds vicious. Another thing I'll mention, we didn't add citric acid to these. The recipe calls for vinegar, the 5% acidic vinegar, so that will take care of it for us, along with the tomatoes being acidic. And make sure when you're canning that your jars do not touch each other. That can cause them to bust while they're processing. So we're filling this up and we're going to let it come back to a boil again and then set a timer for 20 minutes. Making sure they're not touching. Alright. That is that. AJ just brought to my attention that our canner is very full, and he is right, so I need to get some water out of that so it doesn't boil over when it gets to a roaring boil here. It's already starting to come to a roaring boil, so I'm going to set our timer for 20 minutes, and we'll show you guys what they look like when they're done.
Alright everybody, our salsa is water bathed for 20 minutes and we've let it cool just a little bit so they're easier to get, excuse me, to get out. So we're going to set them on a nice cool dry surface so they can finish the process of sealing. Those are the 2 quarts of tomatoes we did earlier. Funny story. We first started canning, we bought the fall canning utensils thing. And, you know, the ones my grandma had were all metal, there was no rubber or nothing on it. So we were trying to grab the jars with this end, and it wasn't working out too well, and we finally figured out we had it backwards.
He's not supposed to tell y'all things like that.
Hey, we all gotta learn somewhere.
That's true. Another tip, I don't know if I mentioned this, one of them already sealed. When we are water bathing our jars, or we do it in the pressure canner too. We hadn't used pressure canner since last year. The only thing we did last year was potatoes. But anyway, we're using the water bath canner. We put a splash of vinegar in the water because we have very hard limestone water here. And it makes the jars look filthy when they come out, which you can wipe it, you know, with a hot rag or something, but it makes the jars look a little better when they come out, make your job easier. But we ended up with 8 pints, right?
Yep.
And we've got 1 in the refrigerator that we didn't can. I had just a little extra. It almost filled a pint. I probably could have got away with it, but we didn't. We just put it in the refrigerator because we know we're going to open one in a week or so anyway.
And we did pickles the other day. Did we film that?
No, we made bread and butter pickles.
Yeah.
We didn't film it because we cheated. We just used one of the packets you get at the store. We didn't actually do a homemade pickle recipe. I mean, we grew the pickles and cut them up, you know, made the brine, but it was just from a packet.
I'm very excited about that because bread and butter pickles are my favorite.
Yeah. And we ended up canning 3 pints of those and then doing 1 pint in the refrigerator, I believe, with those. So.
Okay. Well, that's our salsa canning video. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see you next time. God bless.